Good evening and welcome to my FPL preview for game week number 16. I know it's morning where you are, but ahead of the deadline for game week number 16, we're going to look at our recent game weeks and also talk about my podcast this week. The form is temporary. We once again had a great episode with Spencer. Really fun. And we looked at game week 15 and 16, which of course we'll review and then preview 16 in this one. And also, let's make sure you smash that like button, comment your thoughts on my Game Week 16 lineup and transfers, and also make sure you check out the Only One Bonus Point. Went on them pod this week and it was brilliant. Honestly, the guys there, Ray, Law, RJ, they're top lads and it was a really good pod, really good fun. So make sure you go check it out after this video on YouTube, the Only One Bonus Point podcast. Really good stuff, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, let's get into my game week 14, 15, 16 sort of chat. So where I was last talking about FPL on this channel, we'd come off the back of a really nice game week 14, 73 points. We were absolutely cooking, and we went from 796k to 563k, and I can show you exactly how I did just that right here. So we made one transfer in game week 11, and that was obviously the hell transfer, the hell game week of that lowest score of all time, and you thought it can't happen again. Well, believe it or not, people, it happened again in game week 15, but we'll get to that. Game week 12, I mean, that was nice, big jump from 1.2 million to 1.09, but then the game week was game week 13. That was really the one where my season, took a massive jump. And yeah, up to 796k. And this is how we did it basically in game week 13. At 13, unlucky for some, but fortunately not for us. And it's, I've got to say, one of those weeks where you look at it and think, yeah, I mean, it really did all go right for this week. I mean, Areola, unlucky to get the clean sheet wipeout. Cash, a frustrating player to own, and hence I sold him ahead of game week 14 for a Saliba. We'll get to that. But also, nice returns there for Gordon, who's been an absolute legend since the wild card. The same goes for Hwang Hee-chan, 7-pointer. And of course, Haaland on the captaincy. Look, at the end of the day, it made sense. Haaland got the return, so I was happy with that. And Salah got another assist. So look, it's what it is, right? At the end of the day, we got the returns and we're happy with that. But then, game week 14 was really quite interesting because I look at it and think, okay, this is what the one where you're really hoping for some big points, because the fixtures, they didn't look great, I'll be honest, but you still thought there'd be some good points for us this week. But I tell you, 14 was painful. So my transfers in 14, I had 2 frees going into 14 because I'd rolled in 13. And so I was thinking, okay, I've got a few injuries here, I need to sort them out. Jared Bowen was one of them. David Moyes gave very little away in his press conference ahead of the game against Burnley, and really, it was just frustrating because I didn't think he'd start the game, genuinely didn't, and then he starts, and unfortunately, he ends up playing. The week after he ended up playing, I should say. He missed 13, that was it, against Burnley, and then he had Palace, and I was fuming, to be honest, that he started the Palace game. We genuinely didn't think he would, and then the same goes for Watkins. Away to Bournemouth, we all thought, okay, Emery's actually said he's a major doubt for this week, and he says a 50-50 call. So I thought that's enough to make the transfer and sell Watkins, and he got me an 11-point swing. It was frustrating. I brought in Isak, a 9-point difference there. I mean, very frustrating. I mean, Areola blanks. This is just what we're used to at this point. Couldn't keep the clean sheet against Crystal Palace. Gabriel, yeah, again, frustrating. I mean, they're facing Luton, and you think double up on Arsenal defence, that's surely going to get some returns, even if not clean sheets, some attacking threat from Gabriel. But no, it never happens, and this guy continues to be a troll for me, Gabriel. Honestly, when is the bullet header going to come? It just never seems to be going to happen. And yeah, really, I went for the double defence in this game week because I brought in Gabriel for the game against Wolves, thinking, yeah, I think that there's a decent chance that owning double. I brought in Saliba, I should say. Owning double Arsenal defence will be good for the long run. I had Hwang Hee-chan in the same game, and I thought, well, I might as well, if I'm going to bench him, just go all in the Arsenal defence. And of course, Wolves score in the last kind of second of that game. So frustrating. It's just one of those things. I mean, I don't quite know how it happened, but it's painful to see. So, yeah, Saliba 1 point against Wolves. Booked, I mean, it's just frustrating. I don't know how I've managed to get that unlucky when Saliba always gets more than Gabriel. This is the time he now gets less than Gabriel. And also Zinchenko, he ends up being the one to own for game week 14. So a real pain. Taylor 10-pointer, absolute legend. The king, Taylor, differential, and got the assist seconds into that game against Sheffield United. What a king. Trippier also, legend, combining with Gordon for the goal against Manchester United. Love to see that 12-pointer. Salah again gets a return. I mean, look, it was not exactly what we expected for Salah. We thought he'd get more against Fulham, I have to say, but even with a 4-goal score for Liverpool, it was still a return, so we can't complain too much. Talking about returns, Brian Mbeumo, I mean, yeah, I brought him in for the Luton game thinking he's going to cook, and he got just the assist. I was pretty frustrated with that, and of course now, getting the goal in game week 15, and now is out injured for a few weeks, so really a frustrating one for Brian Mbeumo. Then Son went big against Man City, we love to see that. 10-pointer, looked great and scored a good goal. But then, of course, we'll get on to him in game week 15. I mean, and a frustrating blank again for Tottenham. So, yeah, not great at all. Gordon, 10-pointer. I mean, Gordon has just been dynamite, honestly. In the big games, he's showed up and done really, really well for me. Haaland on the captaincy. He outscored Salah, so happy with that. Got the 2 assists against Tottenham. Although, the first assist, I didn't actually think touched him. The own goal from Son. I thought genuinely that somehow they said it flicked off Haaland onto Son. Now, of course, Son, so unlucky, gets a goal from the one end, and then that's just a freak own goal, and also got the assist. So, ends on 10 points, despite getting the own goal. So, fair play, Son. But, yeah, unfortunate one for those that went for Haaland captaincy, because I don't know if it was 2 assists, but we'll take it. Then 2 from Isak. That was frustrating. Obviously, Watkins doing well. So, Watkins really punished me for the Isak transfer, and Isak blanked against Man United. And then on the reverse of that, Mbeumo returned and Bowen blanked. So I got a kind of return there, but when I take a -4 and Saliba got the 1 point for Matty Cash, who also got 1 point against Bournemouth, it was really frustrating. Turner on the bench 0, Hwang with 1, Gay with 2, and Mubama with 0. So 73 points, very happy with that. Top 540k gaming rank, but 69 with the -4 there. And then, of course, game week 15, where, to be honest, I just felt that I had a pretty good game week 14, so it was worth rolling the transfer going into 15, because I thought about changing the keeper, because I had Areola, who just conceded against Crystal Palace, and he had a fixture against Tottenham, which I didn't really love, but I was like, well, I have only 1 transfer, so I can't really justify for a -4 taking out Areola when, yes, it's a bad fixture, but he's going to play. He'll be a good player for me. He'll get some save points maybe. And I, had Turner, and I couldn't afford to basically get Dubravka because I already had triple Newcastle. So I'd have had to take a -4 to do that. Well, that logic was very sound, because in the end, Dubravka got 2 points. If the -4 versus Areola's 0, well then that would have been basically -2 in the end for Dubravka's -4. So it was a good decision, but frustrating because I didn't have a keeper. As I said on the pod for the Only One Bonus Point podcast, yeah, at least you have a keeper. Some people, not me this week in 15. Areola, yeah. So I get back late from Thursday night thinking, yeah, I can at least get some save points for Areola. See, he's not in the squad, out with a late injury, which we didn't know about, and it's a wrist injury, hopefully nothing too serious, but a problem now for game week 16. And yeah, of course, my backup was Turner, who I had on wildcard in game week 9, Turner and Areola. That was when Turner was starting games. So frustrating that in all this time, I've had other fires to burn and other things to do, and obviously keeper transfers are not a priority, so I've just had to have those 2. And Areola's been my starter every week, with Turner getting dropped, but frustrating, very frustrating we didn't get that news. Trippier 1-pointer, yeah, really frustrating. I mean, he basically caused the Everton win. 2 mistakes for both the first 2 goals, and yeah, I mean, he is brilliant, Trippier, on his day, but he can also be frustrating when he's so expensive. The weeks he doesn't justify the price, it is a pain, but long term, he's a season keeper, and he always has been. So I'm not worried by him. I think he'll start. I don't see him getting dropped just because of that performance. We talked about it on the pod with only one bonus point, but he's too important for them to not play. And he's on set pieces, and he's playing his former side as well at the weekend, so he's got a bit of incentive to hopefully do well. Saliba, 1 pointer. I think Saliba for me is just, again, another season keeper. Now I know that transfer has really not worked out since I did it for a -4, 2 1 pointers, but conceding 3 against Luton, no one would have said that, and then getting booked against Wolves was just very unlucky. So Saliba's the most nailed Arsenal defender, so you have to back the decision and back the player really, because after the next 3 fixtures for an Arsenal are looking really tasty, so you're going to want at least one Arsenal defender. They haven't exactly got as many clean sheets as they look like they're going to get. A bit like Man City, their XG conceded numbers are great, but then they end up conceding. So it's frustrating, I admit, especially with now double Arsenal defence. But it's one of those things. With the fixtures turning soon, I'm just going to stay patient and keep my faith in one of the best defences in the league. But yeah, Saliba, if you get that bullet header soon, that would be great. When I've not had you all this time that he's got the goal against Burnley. Gabriel, talking of bullet headers, please I'm waiting patiently. No, 1 pointer also for him because he conceded 3 against Luton. So yeah, I'm just glad that Gabriel didn't get benched, because Zinchenko got benched against Luton. That's the problem with Zinchenko. He doesn't always play, and Kivior came in, as we actually did predict on the podcast. The form is temporary for game week 15-16's pod. So yeah, look, it's always a bit of a headache with Arsenal's defence. Arteta likes to rotate for those games that he thinks on paper they should win, and they got the job done and won the game. So fair enough. And I think with that, like Trossard as well is not out of a rotation risk. So it's really hard to guess. But I think Saliba's nailed. Gabriel is mostly nailed. Frustrating though to get 1 pointers for my entire defence and then 0 for my keeper. I mean, yeah, defence was not the week this week. 33 points. It's just below average, but it's tough week for a lot of people. So as they often say, it's a good week to have a bad week. The midfield though, I'll be honest, was a bit mixed. We'll start off with the legend of the game week, Hwang Hee-chan. What a guy. 10 pointer against Burnley. This guy's just in sync with what I'm doing as an FPL manager, because every single time he's got a tough fixture, I bench him and he does blank for me because he's very, very kind. And the weeks that I pray he does returns against good fixtures, he returns big time, and he's just such a legend. And yeah, he's probably one of the most transferred in players this week, unsurprisingly. But I've had him for ages, and since game week 9, he's still been like under 7%, under 8% owned, up to this point at least. So yeah, he's been so good. And fixtures are getting worse, but even West Ham, Chelsea, Brentford, like there's definitely a potential for some attacking returns. I'd say West Ham have been pretty poor defensively, and yeah, maybe even Brentford, because they've not exactly been squeaky clean. So yeah, should be interesting. Gordon blanked against a fairly good fixture, you'd say on paper, Everton, but just wasn't Newcastle's night in general. I think Gordon had a few chances that he just snatched at, didn't look quite on his sharp self, but maybe that's pressure of being his former stadium and all that. But yeah, look, he's still been so dynamite for me, and he's not leaving. With the fixtures coming up for Newcastle, they are looking tasty. And Burmo, yep, frustrating. I mean, I had a lot of early subs this week for my team, really frustrating. This was one of them, but nothing that could be done with the injury, with that really unfortunate. I mean, he scored the goal before, which was nice, obviously, to see finally a Burmo goal for me, first since game week 4, when I brought him in game week 3, and all that time he blanked, and then I took him out in wildcard, 14-pointer, 14-pointer, 5-pointer when I didn't own him, bring him in for 14, 5-pointer, and now a 6-pointer, but, he's out now. So, yeah, I'd never quite seem to get on the right side of this guy, but look, still got the goal, can't complain, he's on pens, that's why he's a good asset. And now I've got to think about a replacement, but it's kind of frustrating that he's got to get injured now, because we all had him for Sheffield United, which is of course his fixture this week, would have been at least, so real shame. And of course he blanks in 18, so it's interesting. If he's out for 2 or 3 weeks, he might even miss the blank, and then you'll want him for game week 19 against Wolves, so definitely try and plan to get him back for then. But it does mean maybe if we don't get a City or Brentford player this week for Mbumo, then I've got one less benching, headache to think about for 18, so I can kind of get someone who's going to start the game and not be on the bench blanking, basically. Salah with the captaincy, 6 points. Look, still got the most points and most of the captaincy contenders. Now, some people had Saka. To be fair, he did all right. He got me 5 points if you got 10 points if you got the captaincy on him. So, yeah, he was okay. But, Salah did blank, but at least got more than Son and Haaland because of the clean sheet points. So we'll take it. It's just frustrating, really. You'd expect him in a fixture like that against Sheffield United to return, but just wasn't the day, and he got subbed off early. I don't know why he would do that. I mean, I guess they thought that probably they would win that game without Salah, which, fair enough, they did, but still frustrating. Talking about early subs, what are you doing? Honestly, Ange Postecoglou, you're losing the game 2-1 against West Ham. It's the 87th minute, and you're thinking, you need something to salvage a draw in this game, and you take off Son Heung-min. Now, after the game, fair enough, I found out that he had a slight injury, but at the time, he looked like he was fit as a fiddle, and I thought it was a tactical decision. I was like, you're taking off your best player, but no, fair enough. He apparently does have a knock, but should be fine for game week 17 and 16, I would imagine, because genuinely, he did his interview with Spurs TV after the game. He looked fine. He said it wasn't ideal, but he also said it wasn't a major injury, so it should be fine. I'm not, he's too explosive to just transfer out on the slight hunch that he could be out, because we saw that last week with Watkins, right, and that went badly. So it's just not worth the risk when he's got a nice fixture. I think Newcastle defensively after Everton, they are still a bit light on defenders right now. So still one to keep, and fixtures getting better. Obviously, then the Asia Cup comes along for both Son, and then obviously AFCON for Salah. So yeah, definitely keep up until then. And then the forward line also blanks. I mean, look, frustrating. Isak, I don't know how he didn't do anything against Everton, really. He just didn't look in the game, Isak, and I'm hoping he can really do something against Tottenham, because otherwise the transfer for Watkins has just not paid off, because I'm going to want Watkins back by 18. Obviously, I didn't know he was going to be fit for 14, but I just thought Isak, yeah, those fixtures, Fulham, Luton, but I'm going to want Watkins for Sheffield United, and that's the week he faces Luton, so at least I have him for Fulham. But if he can return against Tottenham, that would be even better. Haaland, again, blanks. I mean, look, I say again, he's been so consistent. We can't really be hard on him, but it was a game you thought maybe do something against that high line of Villa, but he had the 2 Man City chances in the game, so can't complain too much. Then the bench, Turner 0, Gay 1, Taylor 1, and Mubama 0. So, what are my transfers looking like for game week 16? Well, it's a tough decision this week, I'll be honest, because I've got the 2 frees after rolling the transfer in game week 15. This is the current setup. Now, it's a lot of flags, as you can see. 3 to be precise, with Gay on the bench at the moment. Son against Newcastle flagged, Bumo against Sheffield United, and Areola Fulham. I think Areola, for me, has to go either him or Turner. I think Turner's the more priority move, though, because obviously Turner's not playing anyway. Areola, if he comes back for Fulham, maybe a clean sheet, but I don't know. West Ham have not got them this season, and Jimenez is now back in form. So I'm thinking, even if Areola's fit, he probably won't keep a clean sheet against Fulham. So it's probably just worth getting someone in for Turner and then having an option to rotate with Areola in the fixtures where Areola's got tough games, which to be fair is most weeks, but you're not going to have an optimal keeper every week. So yeah, probably Turner out. The question is who to get him in, to replace the American, because, I basically have 1 million in the bank, so I can pretty much get any keeper I want, but there's no good keepers in FPL this season. The same goes for defenders, so I don't know. I'm looking at Robert Sanchez. He's got, obviously, Everton this week. Everton just won 3-0. It's not exactly ideal timing, but fixture-wise, the fixtures for Chelsea are outrageous, and as much as I don't really trust their defence, it just looks like the best option in a kind of list of bad options, so I don't love it. Bentley's also an option, but it basically means if I get Bentley, if Sarr comes back soon for Wolves, then that'll be a headache later down the line, and Areola won't necessarily have a good fixture the week that Sarr comes in, so it's just not ideal really, is it? I think having someone who's nailed, I've thought about Dubravka, but then I've got triple Newcastle. This is the problem I had last week, but at least I've got 2 frees, so in theory I could have done it if I'd have had no fires to put out. I'd have done Isak to someone maybe like Watkins, and then Areola out to Dubravka, but my problem I've got is I don't have that luxury because I've got to sell Mbumo, and I've really got to think that a more pressing transfer than getting a Dubravka for a -4 if I sell Isak as well. A more pressing transfer is to deal with that Areola one or Turner one in 2-3s. I don't think taking a -4 again for a keeper is worth it. So yeah, I could do the 2-3 transfers of Isak out and Areola in, but then I've got the Mbumo one to do for -4. So no, it doesn't make sense. I think it's just got to be Mbumo out and Turner out. The question is who comes in. I think for Mbumo, it's a toss-up probably between Gordon. Oh, sorry, I've already gotten Gordon. I've forgotten that. He's Palmer or probably Bowen. Now, Bowen is obviously the one I sold in 13, I think it was. So obviously, 14. In 14, Bowen didn't punish me. Last week, though, he did against Tottenham. So it's one of those things, like, I know I want Bowen soon, but maybe not now. Maybe I can wait until he's got Sheffield United in 21. It's one of those things, like, I don't know. Really tough, really tough. So I think that's my current team. That's how I'm going to line up with those situations in there. So I think if we make the transfers now, because realistically it's worth making now, just so I don't forget. I think in goal, I might as well keep Areola. But the thing is, if I keep Areola and then he gets a clean sheet and plays, I'll be kind of kicking myself that I benched him. But I think going forward, you've just got to keep Areola and get rid of the more pressing one is Turner. In terms of keepers to buy, though, it's tough. It is tough this week. I'm going to have to get Sanchez. I just know the Everton goal is coming. I know the Abdoulaye Doucouré goal or the Dominic Calvert-Lewin goal is coming, 100%. But at least with Sanchez, you know that there's a base points of, save points. I know he obviously saved a pen last week, and that's not going to happen every week. But hopefully he will at least get 3 points in most games, because even if he concedes, he gets saves. So I don't love it, but there's just no other options. And that doesn't leave me much money, to be honest. So the thing I've got to think about is I can't really afford Bowen now. That's the problem with getting Sanchez over a Bentley, is I can't really afford Mbumo to Bowen. So the one to do, just to give me that flexibility of money, is Palmer. And I'm thinking, I'm going all in for Chelsea this game week, which is probably a bad strat based off their season and Everton's form. But it just makes me more comfortable to have that money in the bank for future weeks, to have a little play around with it in coming weeks, because I'm going to want some more players in for the likes of Gay at some point, probably Mubama as well, because I'll need a better sub for the 18 blanks. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. Will I lock in my transfers straight away? Probably not, but those are my proposed transfers. So Palmer in for Burmo and Sanchez in for Turner. So yeah, look, hopefully a nice little clean sheet for Sanchez. Everton, I mean, look, they are decent from an offensive point of view. They have been better form, but I think Chelsea surely should keep a clean sheet there. And then I've got Trippier against Tottenham. Good fixture. Obviously, Spurs still defensively a bit weak. Maybe some set-piece returns there. Now, double Arsenal Villa defence. I mean, it's not good. Arsenal defence this season is frustrating me, but I just think long-term it's the best defence to get heavily invested in, and so it's not a good fixture this week. I see Villa scoring. I see Watkins probably scoring and making it more painful. But I think Saliba or Gabriel just playing minutes will be something, right? No defenders are getting points this season anyway. Gordon, Tottenham, good fixture. I think Spurs might struggle in that game, especially with their recent form. And Gordon was, not quite at himself against Everton, but I think he can be back to his best here. To be fair, Gordon does love a home game. The same goes for Hwang. At least Hwang is at home this week. His returns at home have been so consistent, and Forest are in dire straits at the moment. So hopefully Hwang can do well there. Sheffield United obviously would have been the great fixture for Burmo, but hopefully Palmer against Everton will do well. I think Everton still defensively aren't the best of teams. I'd be more confident really of an attack and return for Palmer than a clean sheet for Sanchez, but we'll have to see. Salah against Palace, maybe a captaincy shout. Obviously 12:30 kickoff. It's a bit of a heebie-jeebies moment really, because I don't love it, but I think probably one to consider. Son against Newcastle, decent as well, if he's fit, which I'm sure he will be. Isak Spurs, not bad. Our Spurs defence is still a bit shaky, and then Haaland on the captaincy. Easiest decision I've made all season. Luton against Haaland only means one thing: goals, goals, goals. And Turner against Wolves on the bench. Gay against Liverpool, I think Salah could cook. Taylor against Brighton on the bench, and then Mubama 3rd sub. So that is my game week 15 and 16 kind of catch up, really. So that's what we're saying for 16. I hope you have enjoyed. Smash a like on the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, everyone.